Hello, my name is Miranda Rosenberg. Let me start by taking you back to 1930s Germany. My grandmother was a young girl. She wasn't even a teenager when Hitler first rose to power. And her parents, who were really alarmed at the political situation, decided to send her away to England aboard the Kindertransport. Now, the Kindertransport was this system of trains and boats that evacuated 10,000 children safely into the arms of complete strangers who were willing to care for them during the war. My grandmother arrived at the Liverpool station like most of the other children, and from there she was sent to live with a family called the Allens, who were an elderly Anglican couple who lived in Chester. Prior to this moment, my grandmother had no connection to the Allens. They didn't speak any German, she didn't speak any English. That didn't matter because the Allens, as a devout couple, believed that their faith compelled them to do all that they could to help those persecuted during the war. When it was time for school, my grandmother attended the Beacon, where Catholic nuns continued her German lessons and the priest continued her Hebrew lessons. The Beacon staff and the Allens believed that their faith compelled them to do everything possible to help those in need, regardless of differences of ethnicity, nationality, or religion. Now, it's 70 years later, the Allens are long gone, but my grandmother's story of her survival continues to inspire me. In the face of a terrible genocide, one of the worst atrocities of the 20th century, an elderly couple was inspired by their faith to do all that they could to help the little German girl they barely knew. Genesis teaches us that all men are created equal because God created man in his own image. Therefore, differences of religion or nationality or ethnicity really mean nothing. We all have the same origins, and thus our community is really the entire world. So when it was time for me to pick my bat mitzvah project, I knew I wanted to reach beyond South Florida and help those in need. I did some research and I found out that in Cuba, doctors are in high supply, but the medical supplies and the medicines that they need to treat their patients are not. So I called around to local South Florida doctors and collected donations of medical supplies, and once I'd accumulated enough, I ventured with a humanitarian aid group to Cuba, where we were able to deliver the supplies in person. Prior to my project, I didn't have any Cuban friends. I didn't know anyone in Cuba. I don't come from a Cuban background, but it didn't matter to me because ultimately what I wanted to do was help those in need, regardless of differences in religion. Judaism teaches us that the entire world is like a single Sefer Torah. And in a Sefer Torah, if even one letter is incorrect, then the entire thing is considered invalid. And likewise, if a single member of society is hurting, then all of society is blemished. The Allens had their own religious beliefs, which told them it would have been wrong not to do all they could to save the little German girl they didn't know. My religious beliefs might be different from what theirs were, but they still impart to me the same message of social justice, regardless of whether that means advocating for Darfur, volunteering with an aid organization, or just standing up to bigotry in society. Because ultimately what I've learned is Judaism isn't something you think or observe. Judaism is something you live.